So I have these numerous varieties of blended learning. We can mix and match, we can design them to suit particular needs and disciplines. They still must be economically sustainable. And I think that's not high on the agenda for many academics, but I think these days it needs to be. And that's why I think institutions have to provide infrastructure like the Technology Enhanced Learning Laboratory, maybe a bit of IT support in a research and development team to enable the institution to move forward. Otherwise, very little will happen. You can't have one individual who does everything. That's the old model. We used to, call it enthusiastic amateurs, which is probably a bit unkind, or random acts of innovation is another term. We have enthusiasts who do things on their own, but it's not going to impact the university. I'd like to move back to that shift that I've made from specific examples of what we're doing to provide tools for blended learning and support staff to move into blended learning, to think about the organization as a whole. So how do you get a blended learning strategy to operate in a university, in a school, in a college? It's not just down to individuals tampering with technology and pedagogy. That's typically the model. Firstly, the pedagogy is the key. It's got to be an effective learning environment, otherwise we're wasting our time and money anyway. So you need a team of people who can do and share good pedagogy, with instructional designers, support staff and the like. The technology has got to be stable and have adequate functionality. It's got to work and people have got to be trained how to use it. So the learning management system, the blogs, the wikis, whatever you're doing, has to be fairly seamless and well supported. That's obvious, but I'm not sure that institutions tackle that as a strategy. We've got to have efficient utilization of resources, otherwise we'll go broke. I've made that point several times. We also need to look at the culture. Are we in an institution like OUHK where people have got a lot of experience with online and distance delivery, or are we working in a more traditional research-based institution where the culture is more interested in research than in teaching? And of course, universities are on a continuum along that way. How do you structure the organization to support all of these activities? What support can you do to use your resources in an efficient way? So getting the mix right to support a blended learning strategy is quite a challenge, but it's quite a challenging task. It's not something that individual academics can do. It needs a team approach, is the main message. So I say again that every institution needs to embrace some form of blended technology. Ultimately, the students will move away from any type of teaching that doesn't involve the technologies that they are using in everyday life. They want flexibility, they are time poor, they need that flexibility to fit research and to fit study into their lives. So my point again is, if you're from a traditional university, don't think this isn't for you. I'm quite certain that it will have an impact in the future. And the key thing is what resources are available to allocate to an institutional strategy as a whole, not just for individual people, but for the institution. And I quote Marshall McLuhan, who said, any new technology eventually creates a totally new human environment. I think that's what we're moving into now. We've been saying it probably for about at least 10 years, if not 15 years, but now the shift is on. There is a new human environment emerging. I think what universities have got to realize is that this sort of initiative doesn't happen automatically. We need to work together, we need strategies, we need resources, we need planning, we need new structures, and I think that's the challenge for institutions, and that's why I believe blended learning is an organizational development imperative for all institutions. And thank you for your kind attention this morning.